So, Overwatch, huh?
Let's play Overwatch 2.
Aw, dang it. Aw, dang it. Aw, dang it. Aw, dang it. Aw, dang it.
Pretty divisive game. I know. I'm sure many of you out there have played it a little bit. I remember I played it a lot all the way back in Overwatch 1 when it first came out. I was a pretty big fan. I played with it even when I didn't have any friends to play with. And honestly, I would just play with randoms online. As terrible as the experience could be, but I still had a lot of fun. I thought the gameplay was good. I enjoyed the characters. And even the new ones they put out were pretty fun. I still remember when they did the Sombra ARG and the little bit of a mess that became after a little bit of time, and the waiting game at some point. But I was there for it all at the start. Of course, with all things, I fell out of it a little bit through time, and then Blizzard does Blizzard, and now we have Overwatch 2, which is probably one of the worst online multiplayer games I play, which isn't saying a lot. It's not like I play a lot of them, but it's still a pretty drastic difference from the original. It's the only game I've ever played that made me wish we just had loot boxes instead of a battle pass system. So, if anything, I have to commend Blizzard for their ability to make me wish I was gambling instead of playing their game. But I think not biggest, but a big problem with the new Overwatch game is that I just don't think any of the new characters are nearly as fun as they used to be. They all feel kind of flat and standard, a little generic at points, to be honest with you. They just don't feel like they get to shine a lot. I don't feel like they just have a lot of personality there to speak with. They feel very safe, I guess, in a way. Even like their gameplay styles aren't too unique. I think the only new ones that have come out in Overwatch 2 that have like really fun, like unique style of fighting or movement is Lifeweaver and Venture. And Lifeweaver just has his fun little platform things, which since day one I thought would be really fun to mess around with people on, and it is. And Venture, I haven't played him since I dropped Overwatch 2 before he came out, but he seems like the digging mechanic would be a fun way to traverse the stage, especially as a DPS character looking to do a lot of damage. And then we have Mauga, who isn't even that really unique. He just does what tanks do. He's a big wall. And I guess there's something to say about doing your job well, but I just wish he did it in a way that was more unique to his character, I guess. And Ilari, which I'll give her that the healing turret is a cool idea, but outside of that, she doesn't seem that fun to play. Unless you like high-flying characters, I guess, which I think she does, or maybe that's just her ultimate. I don't remember. Like I said, I don't play her much. But, anywho, getting to the point, I guess, I'm sure as you can tell by the title, thumbnail, however I put it, I wanted to make some new Overwatch characters, just because I thought it'd be fun, and I had a little ideas for what we could do for like a tank, a DPS, and a support character. So I kind of went through the roles that the game has, and I tried to make a character for each. I had a couple ideas going in, but I had the ones that stood out to me the most that I ended up doing. So I'd like to get into that, and I guess we can go ahead and just start off with order of the, I guess, classes in the game. So we'll just go ahead and do tank first, I guess. So for the tank characters, obviously they're supposed to be like the big protective class in the game, so I try to go with that as their main gameplay style. And another thing to bring up before we get into it, another thing I love in Overwatch is whenever they do characters that are kind of like a little bit multi-classing, like Brigitte. She's kind of a mostly support, partial tank role. So for this, I try to flip that on its head. I want to go with a mostly tank with some support role. And I don't think Overwatch has many like morale mechanics. I know there are some that like will boost you up and give you like temporary hit points, but I wanted to make a character really built around that, you know? So here we have our tank. I think I just wanted to go, I was hard picking a name for some of these. This one I think was the hardest, trying to find something that I think would fit within the Overwatch style. But I ended up wanting to go with Fanboy, because I feel like that's a good way to describe him and his character. Because my main idea with designing him was that I thought it'd be fun for the tank to be a real big, bulky guy, but he's a super Overwatch fanboy. And I thought that could play into the lore some, and he could have some unique interactions with characters like Soldier 76 and Winston and Tracer and all the other former Overwatch members, just getting to like geek out, I guess, about like the in-game lore and whatnot about them. So I try to make his design more fun-oriented, I guess. It's a lot more amateurish than the, not militaristic, but sci-fi military style I think a lot of the Overwatch characters end up leaning towards. So I try to make it more amateurish. So that's why like his main design motif I started with was just a t-shirt with the big Overwatch logo on it. That was the big point I wanted to get across to really sell his character. Then eventually some other things came in to like work with that, like his baseball hat and his sunglasses and his. I just wanted to give him a pair of like skinny jeans for his pants. I thought it'd be fun, and I think it ended up turning out well. The character himself is American, so whenever trying to think of his like his main weapon, I just kind of think of like an American type of gun, really. And I thought giving him like a kind of a M16 kind of design would be cool because I feel like the silhouette stands out a lot for it, and I thought it'd be really fun with these characters that have all these like silly sci-fi weapons to give this guy like a real like historical weapon in the context of the game. I ended up trying to spruce it up a little bit. It ended up looking a lot like a toy, in all honesty, which I feel like works well for the character since he is a more like jovial kind of a guy. So it ends up looking like a airsoft gun that got modded to hell and back with Overwatch iconography on it. Yeah, I'm sure you can see, and like I'll have like I want to play like my recordings of my sketch and drawing process on here, so like to understand, I guess, what I went through. But I thought it was fun getting to work on him because I like getting to draw like the big bulky guys. Gotta get to do a lot of goofy anatomy on them. Big blocky muscular arms and like a wide chest frame. I feel like make a great silhouette for designs like this. I feel like his personality, he could be like really dude bro ish. So again, within his in game dialogue, he could have like a lot of fun, like just casual conversation. Like he doesn't take it too seriously, maybe, or maybe he does, and like this is just the way he talks. It just makes it sound unserious. Another thing that I got like I realize with drawing Overwatch characters is that they do a lot of like heavy detailed armor, which I think's kind of lame, considering Overwatch characters are supposed to be like akin to superheroes. So I feel like giving them like a bunch of useless design lines is pretty weak. I still wanted to try to fit in with what an Overwatch character might look like. So you'll see even like his jeans, he has them like those little silly detail lines on them, but I think they end up working out cuz it's simple with some detail in it so you get enough of the point, you know. For his moveset, like I said, I want to make him a tank slash support style character. So his main fire is just an M16. When give him like a big rapid fire, not too accurate, but it does good at close range, which is where a tank should be, in all honesty. For his alt fire, I wanted to play into his aspect as a fanboy, where he can pick up med packs and like throw them to his allies. So I wanted to give him a mechanic where he can maybe store up like 3 med packs, but he has to run and get them. Like his passive would be like the med pack pickup, where if he runs into a med pack at full HP, he will add it to his med pack inventory, which can store up to 3 med packs, and they can throw it out to an ally as his alt fire. For his first ability, I wanted it to be his like a big megaphone morale boost to like boost the enemies or boost his allies around him, giving them a little bit of temporary hit points, I think, but also playing a little bit more into the morale mechanic by letting them deal more damage while around him. I think it would also be fun to make it more central to his gameplay that this is a state he enters instead of a mood. So while he's in this state, he'll scream in the microphone, boosting all of his allies around him, but he can't fire anything. He can move around, but maybe a little slower. And like while in this state, he'll, like I said, buff his allies, but he'll be knocked out of it if he takes like a substantial amount of damage. I don't think getting hit once should be enough because I feel like it's a little unfair. You get one pot shot on him, and he's suddenly knocked out of it, and you have to wait for a recharge. But I feel like giving him like a good little bit of damage and then knocking him out of it would be fair. For his other ability, I want it to be. Well, I know a lot of tanks get it. It's like a dash, just to give them some mobility option. I want to give him specifically a dash that can only work if he's dashing towards one of his teammates, and whenever he gets there, until he gets there, maybe he can gain some extra temporary hit points just to keep him alive enough to reach his ally, which I feel like would be good for a tank character. So in case you're taking a lot of damage, you can run back to your medic to heal you for a little bit. And maybe this could be like a lifesaver, like a real clutch move. And for his ultimate, I wanted to go with a big screaming shout action, which doesn't deal any damage, but it will give all allies that it like reaches, like in a cone kind of area. So all allies that it reaches will gain a bunch of temporary hit points for a little bit, and it will push back all enemies a lot. But like I said, dealing no damage. So it's more for saving your enemy. So it's more like saving your allies whenever they have the enemy team bunched up on them. All right, and I think that's all I've got for tank. Like I said before, I really enjoyed working on this one. He's really within my style. And I think he came out pretty cool and good in the end. I like getting to pick colors for all of them, but this one I specifically like because I get to do a lot more poppy colors, I guess. All right, and with tank done, I guess we can go ahead and move on to our DPS character. All right, now moving on to our DPS character, I feel like I should introduce him by name first. That will give you pretty much the entire idea of what I was working with around him. His name is Destreza, I think is how you pronounce that. I just wanted a melee-based DPS character because I don't think we have any of those in the main game already. So I thought it'd be fun to give a character that's whole goal is to just zip around dealing close range damage. Kind of like Genji, but instead of the shuriken thing, his main fire was like the sword. And if the name doesn't give it away, and the general design you can see on screen so far, it's very heavily based on a Zoro. Not from One Piece, the actual like Spanish sword fighter character. One of my favorite parts about Overwatch is that they take characters from different nationalities and bring them all together. So I really wanted to play with that with this character. I was really unsure if I wanted to make him like from Mexico because they already have a lot of lore with Mexico with characters like Sombra and the gangs there or whatnot, or if I wanted him to be from Spain. So I'm still a little bit up in the air on that for right now. But Destreza itself is actually a style of a fencing swordplay that I think in some iterations Zoro himself actually does use. So that's where I got the name from for him. But I thought this would be a fun character for like zipping around, dealing a lot of close range damage, and then getting out. Like a real hit and run tactics kind of character. I just really think that'd be a fun gameplay style to get to try. Maybe for like his lore, he was like somebody who is, if he's from Mexico, of course, he could have been inspired by Soldier 76. Like in the first one of the first cinematics we actually see from the original Overwatch is Soldier 76 in Mexico, like saving people. So maybe he was inspired by that to become a sort of vigilante in his own right, I guess. I did enjoy for this one. I got to make a little bit more of a sleek character and put a lot more style into it. I really love getting to draw like big flowy capes. And I thought his big hat was like fun to get to design, even if drawing circles is hard as balls. I tried to end up going for a more sleek design for this guy because obviously he's supposed to move around a lot. So you'll see a lot of the references I pulled were for characters who are ideally supposed to be moving around a lot and dealing a lot of damage. Characters like Genji and Soldier 76 and whatnot. For his gameplay, like I said before, his main fire would just be like a sword swiping attack. I feel like it'd be fun to give him like a combo kind of system with it, maybe, where he can like, I don't know, push around his enemies, like I guess a good little bit. Like for example, maybe his main fire could just be a straightforward jab that, if connected twice, would result in like a third strike being a wide slash that would push them back. Maybe that'd be something fun we could work with. For his alt fire, I would definitely want that to be like a big downward slash, just to give him some more technique options. So maybe you can mix up your own combos with his main fire and alt fire, like mixing that together. For his first ability, I want it to be a long range lunge with a little bit of vertical height gain, but mostly used for traversing long distances. So this will be like a good way if you're if you play like a Genji and you want to traverse like the tops of buildings, you'll be able to jump around a lot more quickly. And I realize this ability is similar to him, but I feel like it's different enough because it has more of an arc to it, where Genji's more of a straightforward slash. So this would be a good way to differentiate them by having to calculate more for your movement. And for his second ability, I want it to be a long-range whip attack that comes out of his, like, I know it's hard to see in the art I drew, until the very end, but he has like a robotic arm that he uses as his main sword arm, and that will come into play with this ultimate and for this technique because it has a whip inside of it. I want that whip to be his like main long-range option for the game, where he can extend it out to either whip an opponent that would stun them slightly, or if he hits like the edge or a ledge of a physics object you can grab onto, he can pull himself up and then like get onto like a platform or part of the stage. So it'd be another one to help him move around a lot more, kind of like a grappling hook in that way. Plus, it plays a little bit more into Zoro's theming, because I think Zoro used a whip in some incarnations. Before we get to his ultimate, I did want to give him a wall clinging passive, which again was a bit similar to the Ninja Brothers, but he is a character that is similar to those, where he needs to zip around a lot to benefit from his gameplay style. So I thought giving him, again, similar techniques would just make the most logical sense for him. And finally, for his ultimate, this is going to be a big one where his robotic arm comes into play. he's able to freely rotate his wrist around and spin his sword to create a vortex that pulls all enemies in for like a brief period of time. So all the enemies directly in front of him would get pulled directly towards him and get stuck for a second. I wouldn't say it like stuns them, but they would get pulled in, unable to move. Maybe like maybe stuns them for a second, just keep them all from like ganging up on one guy because of your ultimate and firing. But it'd be very brief, not long at all. And as a side effect to this, I wanted to make it so that his next alt fire would be like deal like a lot more damage, like at least 2 times more damage than it normally would. So that this way you could pull a bunch of enemies in and then immediately follow it up with a very strong attack to like kind of like knock out some weaker enemies that might be bothering your team. All right, and I think that's all I've got for our DPS character, Destreza. I enjoyed this one a bit. It was a little bit harder, I think. Definitely not the most difficult one, but I definitely enjoyed getting to work through this one because I got to play with a lot more different design influences because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do going into it. But I feel like it all came out pretty good in the end. All right, and now for our last character, I want to go on and talk about our support character for the game, which I will admit was the very first idea I had coming up for this. All right, and for support, like I said before, our last character, we have the Equalizer, or just Equalizer, I guess. But this is the one that like I said before, it was the first idea I came up with for this, mostly because I play a lot of support characters in Overwatch to begin with. But I feel like this one encapsulates my design ethos for making, specifically, I guess, Overwatch characters the best. I like going for I guess what I like to call a Batman villain design process for it, where Overwatch characters, I'll admit, are not designed for a lot of depth, really, in terms of storytelling or characterization, really. So I feel like they work best by going off of a very simple, straightforward idea and then moving along from that. So for example, Tracer, the mascot kind of character of the game, her whole thing's time. She's British. That's like a Doctor Who reference, I guess, in a way. I guess all of Britain is time travel reference now. But her whole thing is based around time. Her abilities allow her to manipulate through time. Her backstory is tied to time. Again, she's British. Being British is a time travel reference. But that's what I kind of mean. Like, you take one idea and you roll with it. So for this, my first idea was, wouldn't it be so funny and awesome? Because as far as I can recall, in Overwatch, they don't really do much with Russia as like a nationality. I know Zarya's from there, and I think they have some kind of like political upheaval or something they're going through. But I thought it'd be fun to make a character who is like an old school Russian nationalist. And I definitely know this is not a character Blizzard would make now because of the whole real world politics situation. But yeah, he's like I want to go back to an old school, like, Soviet nationalist. Like, this guy's, like, full communism, all that. And so I want to base his gameplay around that. So using that idea, I want to go into his gameplay and reflect that ideology in his character by making his entire role as a support character based around taking HP away and redistributing HP amongst like, your party members. So his main fire is just like he has a little Makarov pistol. That's it. Like it's just a really simple sidearm, low ammo capacity, not a lot of damage, anything like that. But his main fire is a little grenade lob that I thought it'd be fun if you have like a little like gameplay system where if you throw it, you can shoot it in midair to set it off early, so you can deal with airborne targets that way. But beside the point, the entire point of the grenade is that when it explodes, it sucks in like the HP from the enemies that would hit, and it sucks back into your HP pool that you can use to redistribute among your party. So for like his first ability, it'd be a wide AoE that takes HP from your collection of HP and gives that to all enemies in a radius around you. And the second ability would be a single shot to an ally that heals them for a lot more than the AoE would, a lot quicker. But again, it's a single targeting thing. So like I said before, the entire design ethos around him is taking that system of his ideology of redistributing from the people he believes does not deserve things to the people that do deserve things. So taking HP away from your enemies and giving it to your allies. I feel like that would be fun and it'd make a lot of sense for his character, I guess. For his ultimate, I want it to be a version of his primary abilities just kind of on steroids, where your main fire now just becomes those grenade lobs. You can throw as many as you want with very little cooldown on them, and your HP stock would have no limits for like a set amount of time. So it'd be like a way to overcharge your redistribution abilities, I guess. So you can lob bombs as much as you want, keep continuously draining HP and giving it back to your party time after time after time. So this would be a good way to mass heal very quickly. But getting back to the design of things, I wanted this one to specifically be more militaristic than the rest of the designs I've come up with so far, considering he is like a nationalist for his country, so it would make sense that he would idealize that kind of militaristic role for himself. I again tried to look at other support characters as reference for this for how they're often drawn in the main series or in the main game, and a lot of them tend to sport simple armor design, so I wanted to give him some like basic level of protection. My like little headcanon theory for the lore, I guess, is that like the coat he wears is an antique of sorts, but all of the armor he's wearing is like handmade himself. Or it's something that he cooked up himself for like his little design, I guess. I really didn't want to be stuck in like the red and yellow kind of, communist colors for the design mostly. So I tried to experiment a little bit more with a bit of a wider array of colors. That's why you'll see some blues pop up and things like the helmet and the straps and whatnot. It was partially working through this that I realized how similar design kind of was to what was it? It was a DC, like, kind of goes back to my Batman ideology with designing characters, or designing these characters. But that DC, I think it was DC, one of the superhero things. There's like a character named Dog Welder who just weld dogs to people's face, which I feel like maybe there's a little bit of that kind of like level of insanity in this design, because he is literally a guy who redistributes people's health, which is pretty, I guess, in a realistic sense, that's kind of fucking insane. So yeah, that's Equalizer, I guess. I had a lot of fun with this one. Like I said, this was my main design motif going into this, and I really enjoyed it. I'm sure you can tell that with the sketches you see on the side, but I really, really enjoyed getting to work through this one. All of these were really fun. I enjoyed this process. It was a good little, I guess, process in learning the Overwatch style a little bit and working with how they would normally dress and armor their characters. And I feel like the gameplay stuff I came up with was pretty fun. So I hope you enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun. If you enjoyed this, please let me know in the comments, I guess. And if you did, feel free, do that little YouTube stuff. Subscribe and like, and, I think there's other stuff like a bell. You hit the bell. But, feel free to do what you want. I appreciate any support I do get. So, if you liked any of the art you saw, feel free. You can find me on like Twitter, and I have web comics on multiple platforms. I'll try to link to everything in the description below, so it's a little bit easier to find them. But I think that's all I really got. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a pleasant rest of your day. And with all that being said, I think I'm gonna go. So, like I said, thank you for watching. Do the YouTube stuff you want. Have a good day, and I'll see you when I see you.